Hello and happy Tuesday. I want to place an advisory at the beginning of this episode if you haven't already seen the title. This episode will be discussing the psychology of rape and sexual assault, as well as victim stories. If you are sensitive to the topic, please do not listen beyond this point or this warning. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted and you need support, please contact the RAINN Anti-Sexual Violence Organization at 1-800-656-4673. They do also have online chat services that are available at www.rainn.org. I know that this is going to be a heavy topic for a lot of people. In fact, I don't think I know anybody that has not been sexually assaulted. That is truly shocking to me. Because as a little girl, I never thought that it would be this common. We teach young children to be careful of strangers. We tell ourselves that we need to be aware. We tell ourselves that it could never happen to you. And then before you know it, everything that was told to you becomes a complete blur. Because there's a lot of things behind rape and sexual assault that is not properly delved into. In science, at least back in the 80s, we love the 80s, there was an author by the name of L. Ellis that studied, I guess you could say, the science of rape and gave it specific theories behind it. One of those theories being that rape is an extreme response to natural selection pressure, which has favored male assertiveness in attempting to complete the numerous, to copulate with numerous sex partners. I got to say that again. The theory was that rape is an extreme response to natural selection pressure, which has favored male assertiveness and attempting to copulate with numerous sex partners. This was published in 1989, which, most of us know people. We're still alive from 1989. It's a very outdated theory, but there are still a lot of people that believe this to be true. It is and should be noted that rape and sexual assault is not about sexual gratification or sexual interest. It's about power. There was a video that I saw, a male podcast, an all-male podcast it looked like, discussing, rape and rape victims about, the aesthetics of a woman and what may cause her to be raped. And one of them made a very snide comment about how it's usually the 300-pound blue-haired women that get brushed up upon in Walmart, and all of a sudden they're claiming sexual assault. It's just like, don't Victoria's Secret models, those are the only ones that are, at risk for being raped. So if you're not pretty or you're not sexy or you're not hot, don't worry about it because you won't be raped. Which is not true. Not true at all. Again, it's about power. I oftentimes discuss in my episodes that we cannot control other people. We cannot control their actions. We cannot control their thoughts as much as we may try. We can't control those things. It's just not something that is within our control, our immediate control. So it doesn't matter if you're dressed up or dressed down, if you're size 2 or size 12. It doesn't matter. If a person is going to target you, a lot of the times there's nothing you could have done personally within yourself, apart from maybe get some kick-ass self-defense skills, right? That could have stopped or prevented it. Hamby, the founding editor of American Psych Association's Journal of Psychology of Violence, wanted to emphasize that rape is not considered a behavioral or mental disorder, but a criminal offense. There are a lot of rapists that might be plagued with a psychological disorder, but there is no actual disorder that actually compels people to rape another person. But as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of evolutionary biologists, such as Mr. Thornhill and Craig Player, who believe that there's this kind of primary motive behind rape, and that it is about the sex. It is about getting the rocks off and, oh, this is an attractive woman, I'm going to take her, against her will. Or even a woman, right? She's going to take this man against her will or whatever. There still are a lot of people that think this way. And I want to hit you guys with some very important statistics about what is true and what isn't. 1 in 5 women will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. Most actually on college campuses. It's between 20 and 25% of women. 8 to 9 out of 10 women actually know who the rapists are. And there's actually a lot of, kind of skating around non-violent assault. And how that trauma isn't always loud. Rape and sexual assault isn't always like the movies where, you see a victim being attacked or raped and they're being hit and they're being punched and they're being attacked, physically attacked. It's not always that case. Again, a lot of the times it's somebody that you know. And I did discuss a little bit about my past and how I believed that it would help some people realize that it isn't always, this insane, dramatic, running down the street with no clothes type of scenario when you're assaulted. And I'm kind of sad to say that I personally have been assaulted on 3 separate occasions by people that I knew. It would have been 4 had I not been able to get out of that situation myself. And you don't realize how damaging a situation like that can be when you realize, especially as a woman, how there's very little control over the situation when a man is overpowering you. The very distinct difference in strength between a man and a woman, and I joke around sometimes between the difference of man's strength and woman's strength, and how big the gap is between man's strength and woman's strength. And how easy it is for that no to be pushed to the side. How easy it is for that stop to fall on deaf ears. Because there's nothing that you can physically do, a lot of us, there's nothing that we can physically do to prevent or stop it. And a lot of us, a lot of women that I know, including myself, were too afraid to stop something that was happening because we were afraid of what the reaction would be. Is this person going to hurt me? Is this person going to kill me? If I don't just lay there and take it even though I said no. And it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. It's a very scary thing. And those who know me know that I've I've told, friends and people that are closest to me the times that I have been assaulted and how damaging it was in my youth and in my adulthood. Even now, I hold it very much close to me as I react a certain way to certain things. It feels easier to be inside myself than it is to be outside and taking a risk and being, holy with somebody. And I realize that it affects me in those ways because it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things that we can't really prepare for. And some of us have daughters now or sons. And I want to emphasize, because I do have a largely male audience, men are sexually assaulted too by women. And even less of them go forth and report it. They're sexually assaulted by men and women. Men are sexually assaulted by men and women. And it's you can't really put many words into how traumatizing an experience is until you're in it, until it's over. And then you realize all the fallout of what happened before, or after, rather. And there's several reactions to sexual assault. There's fear responses, right? Where, like I mentioned before, you fear at the time of the assault of being physically injured or killed. And a lot of the times we associate, these fear responses are associated with, the assault, right? Like sight, sound, smells, thoughts. That fear can persist for weeks and months and years for people. Losing control, the sense of feeling like you don't have control over your life because that sense of will was taken away from you. There is a portion of you that was taken against your will. It's like being robbed, right? It is being robbed. Victims get flashbacks where they re-experience the assault. There's trouble concentrating, guilty feelings. A lot of the times we feel dirty. There's depression associated. Our relationships get disrupted. There's a lot of fear and anxiety. And people react different ways in these fearful situations. There's physical, mental, and behavioral reactions to these types of things. Sometimes we experience all of them. Sometimes they're experienced separately. But sometimes they occur simultaneously. And they interact with each other. There's the physical reaction when we're faced with danger, right? Your heart starts to race, your blood pressure increases, your muscles get tense. This is when, this is what we would call, the fight or flight response. When we feel like we're being threatened, our bodies automatically get ready to fight or run away. And sexual assault victims first experience physical reactions to danger during the attack itself. And then weeks or months later, the victim may experience, those basically panic attacks, which are reminders to the assault. And there are some people, a lot of people, that don't have the fight response to physical reactions, especially if it's an attacker that you are familiar with. We spoke about the non-violent side of assault, where you say no, you say no, you say no, and they persist anyways. They schmooze you, they keep touching you anyways, and it just keeps going. Some people don't have that fight response because it's, you know, the slow knife still cuts just as painfully. Then we have mental reactions. And sometimes it's not the physical reaction, but more so an emotional response that triggers or stimulates the fear that you felt or currently feel. And it's not unusual for a victim to feel like the person that assaulted them is going to come back and harm them again. And this is especially true, again, for people that they don't report. And a lot of the times, certain places or things will trigger these thoughts. I remember for the longest time, I couldn't be around a salt lamp because it was triggering this sense of like fear in me. Because at the time, one of the people that almost assaulted me, the person that would have been number 4 that almost assaulted me, he had a salt lamp in his room. And I distinctly remember, during this time, I distinctly remember just trying to focus on that lamp because it felt like that was the only bit of light and warmth in that entire space. And had I not had more of the mindset that I did then, when I've been assaulted, previously, I probably would have avoided a lot of those. Because I was able to get up and just be like, hey, you know what? My mom knows where I am. She's waiting on me. I have to get out of here. And he decided that it wasn't going to be smart if I was in a place where somebody knew, my location, right? It could be traced back to him. And the mental reactions to those things, right? They can manifest in the form of night terrors, nightmares, difficulty concentrating. And, it really does feel virtually uncontrollable at times. And that feeling of not feeling safe is something that can really weigh on your shoulders. It's like carrying a 200-pound person on your shoulders sometimes. And it might make somebody feel like they're going crazy. And other times, there's more of a behavioral reaction, which I experienced on a daily basis after the fact. There was a lot of fear and anxiety associated with me leaving or going out with new people or being out in new situations. I would avoid anything that might seem intense. I would avoid anything that might spark fear and anxiety, which would be, being picked up in somebody's car, not being able to drive myself to places, right? And I would go to great lengths. A lot of people know this. I would go to great lengths to avoid people and situations that might remind me of the time that I was assaulted. I would avoid it. What sucked is that I saw it in everything. I would see it in everything, it felt like. And it just more so fueled that fear of, I can't leave. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. And the whole reason for bringing this up, I know that there's a lot of women and men out there. The whole point of this episode is to bring awareness. There's a lot of talk. I talk a lot about consensual sex and being okay with yourself emotionally and physically, being comfortable in your skin, loving yourself. And a lot of us struggle with this when there is a sexual response or a sexual trauma response that's still kind of loading, that you haven't been able to work through or haven't been able to, talk about in therapy or anything else. And sometimes we can't, Google away our mental responses. Sometimes we do need help. Sometimes we do need to talk to somebody and figure out, okay, what are we going to do here? What are we going to do with this? And, again, I know this episode is going to be very heavy for a lot of people. I want to have as many resources as I can available to people that are victims of sexual assault. And this is for men and women. I don't ever, not for 1 second, do I want anybody to think that I believe that sexual assault is something that only happens to women. It may be greater in women, but we really don't know because of the small amount of men that actually report sexual assault. I don't even think that we could get an actual statistic on that, truth be told, because of how little men are willing to report such a terrible thing. And I want to let everybody know, if you are a victim of sexual assault, if something was taken from you and you had no choice, don't beat yourself up over it. It's not your fault. A lot of the times we don't have control. Most of the time we don't have control over what another person is going to do or how they're going to react. And again, it can be anybody. Explain this to your kids. You don't need to have something specific between your legs to be a target for somebody that is craving that dominance over another human being. It doesn't need to be a stranger for it to be plausible. It can be family. It can be family friends, cousins. It can be anybody. And it's important to have this knowledge in the back of your head, to be able to explain and educate people properly, to realize the signs if you are raising children, to realize the signs in behavior, so that you're better prepared for something like this. 1 in 5 women will be sexually assaulted in their lifetime. 1 in 5. In my household, we have 3 women. 2 out of the 3 women in that household have been sexually assaulted. And that to me is astonishing. I want everybody to take some time to decompress from this episode. Take a walk, get some fresh air, journal, listen to some music, have some tea, relax. This was a very heavy topic. And as always, my DMs are always open. It's a non-judgmental zone for anybody to talk about anything that might be bothering them. Again, if you or somebody that you know is a victim of sexual assault and you want to talk to somebody, you can call the RAINN Anti-Sexual Violence Organization at 1-800 656 4673. They do have online chat services available too on their website. I love all of you guys. I hope you have a wonderful week.